Hey everyone, my name is Meggy of We Found a Place, and you're watching Channa 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 podcast.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of my podcast. We have a special guest today. I wanted to have her for some time now. So I have Meggy Caparas joining the podcast. Hi, Meg.
Hi Channa, so stoked to be here.
So, how's your Sunday?
Good. It's quite slow, but I'm getting used to how slow some weekends could get. But yeah, I'm so excited to be here, and thank you for having me.
Right. I mean, we were talking off air that although we met like a few weeks back or maybe a month ago, but we should have met long time ago, right? Because I kind of discovering so many things that we both like, right?
I remember I don't know how, I think I mentioned it to one of our debrief calls where I would listen to this band called The Main, and then randomly just sent me like a meet and greet photo. I was like, I was at the same concert.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So Meg, you go to concerts also. What was your last concert?
I can't, I'm not sure if it's like a Wonderland show or a solo show. I think it was a band called Coin, an Ayala Mall show. I think that's one of the, as far as I could remember, the last show that I attended, in person.
Right,
It was a
right.
mall show.
Yeah, I think we can talk about music, but I want to ask you first. Can you tell me a little bit about your childhood, where you grew up, and what's interesting
Right.
about your childhood?
All right. So, I grew up, born and raised here in the Philippines, and I'm originally from the north before I transferred back when I had to uh when I changed schools to be a grade 7 here in the south. So ever since then we lived here. But growing up, like I was so in tune with, I don't know, the music taste of my family. Well, especially my uncle, he's super into the Beatles. So he I would be, you know, exposed to that kind of music. And I remember like listening to this radio station called RJ back then. I don't know if it still exists right now. I think it still does.
Yeah.
But it's like more of that mellow um old school music that I grew up listening to, which I super enjoyed. And one of the things that developed, I guess, my affinity with music would be the Beatles exposure. but which
Right,
I super love too.
right.
And I moved here, and I was super inclined to going to shows for some reason. Like I love the live shows. I like seeing artists or getting the chance to meet them. And later on, like maybe I'd share like a couple funny stories of how like the shows that I've been to and how I got tickets for it. It's a ride, but it's the best.
Right. So you said you moved here. You went to like school. So what was your school life? What did you study in school?
So as soon as I graduated high school, I went to De La Salle University in Manila in Taft. So I took up biochemistry as my undergrad. So I didn't have plans on going to med school. That's why I really stuck to taking that course over like a pre-med course, like let's say biology only or chemistry only. So that's the story.
Oh wow! Because I have the same story because I studied and I didn't have enough marks to go to medical college. So I was given the option to do biology, which is uh, s- probably something like you. But I decided not to pursue that. I just went into IT instead. So
Wow. Wow, tell me about that. I mean, wait, this is like my mind is blowing because it's so the paths are quite similar, and like our affinity with with concerts and music are like sort of the same wavelength, you know?
Yeah, because I was more into like maths, and I was always interested about mathematics, but my mom wanted me to like go and pursue like become a doctor. That's something that she
Yeah,
wanted. So I did biology instead of doing like engineering. And
right.
so I didn't have like I didn't fail, but I had like average marks, and I could go to university and do a biology, pursue
Mm-hmm.
biology, and basically like biochemical, that sort of area. But I wasn't really interested of that, so I decided I'll stop and I'll just pursue IT. And
Uh-huh.
that's what actually led me to the even to the Philippines, that working in IT and all this technology side of things.
Wow. That is so interesting. And look how it turned out. I mean, so you went to university in Sri Lanka, then you moved here for work in the Philippines.
No, actually, I didn't. I actually didn't go to university. I straight after I decided that I don't want to do biology, so I just went and
Oh,
started working in IT. I started working, and then
wow.
later on, I got some of the qualifications that I needed for IT.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really spend time in college. Something that I kind of regret, because don't have that experience of going to college.
Yeah, yeah. But all the more like you got to experience everything like on the field right away.
Right, right.
Cool, cool.
So make this unfortunate that we had this pandemic, and all this COVID and stuff. So uh,
Mm-hmm.
how did that affected you personally?
Well, like I was still working like in the middle of it all, but I had plans on actually leaving already. But it got postponed for a while. So I chose to stay. And apart from the work, I guess it really amplified so many things in my life that I never had time to really process. Like it was always there at the back of my head. Like I was like, okay, on the weekends I'll do this. I'll take time to, think about this. But never really had the time. So like when I shared with you before how um the line of work that I'm in is it's like you're running in a hamster race. Like the turnaround time for the tests are so quick, like but I super like amidst it all, I super love what I do there. I like the projects that I'm doing, I like the people that I'm dealing with, I love the team that I'm with. But like it really like the all the time that we had back on lockdown really shed light on so many things that had to be, processed. And it's super interesting how like it was such a silver lining for me, but at the same time it was such a like it's a shedding experience. Like all the things that I've been meaning to really sit down, like okay, like let's sit it out, it all revealed itself in the middle of it all. Like starting from, let's say, my dependency on community workouts. Like I couldn't do workouts because all gyms, like all studios are closed, and like we couldn't go to shows, we couldn't go to concerts. And that's like one of the things that I would look forward to. Like let's say every quarter, let's say there's like a free show, free mall show, I'd go to it if the artist is someone or like a band that I really listen to or I like. So it's been quite a ride, but it just even amplified like this awakening journey, which maybe we'll get to discuss in a while.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think I personally don't want to like dwell in the pandemic anymore, because I think we
Yeah.
stayed there for too long. uh,
Yep.
and and we keep on calling this new normal, but I think it's already normal, right? It's just that
Exactly.
certain things are different. So
Yeah, it's really how we pivot and how we find ourselves in this, like more of the acceptance of this is how it's gonna go. So we have to adopt to this new way of seeing things, of doing things. And the more that we resist it, I guess, like the more that you can't move forward with all the many transformations that's, upon us. Not just not just for ourselves, but like as a collective, as we go through this collectively.
Yeah. Even like personally for me, I mean, we are doing this talk, this podcast exists because of the pandemic, because I
Yeah,
started it part as because I didn't have anything else to sort of do. I couldn't go
exactly.
to concerts. So uh, it's been actually for me personally, it's been a positive, overall positive, I would say, overall positive experience.
Uh-huh.
Last year, mostly last year,
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, it's so cool how this all came about when you shared to me that this birth because of the P word. Like this birth because we couldn't go to shows and like see and look where it's going. I mean, it's so interesting to be able to connect to artists, like mostly if that's like who your guests are, like to connect with these artists in this kind of level. Like
Mm.
before, it was just like their performance. Okay, like if you get to talk to them, like, wow, I love your music, that's it. But like if you guest them on the podcast, like you get to touch upon topics like that are more personal, like that are like a different side of them that's quite not every day that we see on, like, their guestings, or like it's like a your own show.
Yeah, and the most surprising thing for me from all the interviews I did with so many artists is how humble these guys are. These guys, these ladies are
So
so humble. Like, I mean, they're doing like so many big shows and they have so many fans, but personally, they're so humble.
super.
Yeah. So Meg, I mean, you talk about, like, earlier you had like the influence of Beatles, that so I can see that when I see these new bands like 1975 or the
Uh-huh.
Main, the even the Mayday Parade, I feel that the sort of that Beatles vibe is actually still continuing, because it's that's the real, because most of the other genres, they diverted too much. They went into the extremes of things, but these sort of rock, pop rock kind of bands, just keeping that Beatles sort of,
Yeah.
because Beatles were considered pop back then, right? They were considered a pop group. So uh, what are the bands that you got interested early on? What would you consider your favorite bands?
That's a really tough question because like there's an array of bands, and I feel like as I grow up, like my music taste changes, but at the same time, some bands would really stick. Like it's funny how the Main is one of my ultimate favorite bands, but um growing up, like it has evolved to like an indie um electronic pop kind of taste. But like with the Main, like it's so great how they really are like a alt rock or like pop rock band. But as they grow with the fans too, I guess like the music has evolved so much. Like I could see like the progression from Can't Stop Won't Stop to like Lovely Little Lonely, and like that album was like you can listen to it from top to bottom. Like it's not an album that you could listen like on shuffle. Like it tells a story, and how they went away from a music label and made the fans their music label. I mean,
Mm.
with Pioneer, like it's such a powerful album, and I love how they just went through these changes and stuck through what they think is authentic to them, like as their sound, but at the same time it's not super repetitive vibe for an album. Like it's still like I could still hear the Main on every album, but it like progresses, like it grows. Like I hear like different different riffs, but still like the quality or like the trademark of it being the main is still there. So that's one. That's an extreme like explanation of why I love the band, and especially like how they connect with their fans. Like it's insane. Um, then Hon is one of my top favorites also. Oh Wonder. Who else? Like all the artists or most of the artists that Wonderland would bring, like I would listen to them. And yeah, the 1975 is great too. And I feel like the sound is quite similar to these bands, but they have like a different spin on it.
Mm.
So as like I went on, I started as like the pop rock kind of music taste, but like as it progressed, I went into that alt electronic like chill vibe, like that kind of bands. But I love like listening to any new records from these old bands that I would listen to. So it's pretty great. And the thing with like attending concerts, it's like they play it straight out of their records. Like it sounds exactly or even better than what I would hear on the record. And it's funny how like I get to like the more that I go to shows, like the more that I get to observe, like wow, like they had like a longer riff for this one with like whenever I would hear it on album, it's this short. But when it's live, like it's even more like mind blowing. So that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, watching a concert live and listening an album through a CD or Spotify it's total different experiences, right? You-
Super, but still an experience.
yeah, that's actually what I missed about going to the live shows. It's
Exactly. And like with me, I get too nostalgic. Like I have this tendency of capturing a moment through a playlist. So like whenever I feel like, oh, this is a good playlist to, I don't know, like chill outside and watch the view of X place of like display. So I would like sort of immortalize that moment by making a playlist, which is one of the things that I love doing too. So yeah, like and just putting in like a bunch of music from the bands that I would listen to. So that's pretty great. And I'm interested how the music scene will change, like with the pandemic being here, or like the new earth that we are walking towards. Like how's that gonna look like? Like are there gonna be more virtual concerts like what you attended with Dame? So
yeah,
there.
I was earlier, very early in the earlier last year, I was quite skeptical about the live streams and virtual concerts. I thought that it's just a sham, but
Right.
I kind of changed my mind because I saw a couple of concerts that was the experience was really really good, even though it's online. Um,
Right.
yeah, so but I've seen that late last year the virtual streams were going. There were so many things virtual streams happening, but now that 2021 came in, I see that the live streams are not happening that frequent.
Yeah.
Maybe because in the other places like in Europe and US, there are places that they can still play live, right? So maybe that's the reason that things are opening up. So probably
Mm-hmm.
that's a positive thing.
Right.
I feel that they should continue to have the live stream element in any concerts, because I really
Mm-hmm.
enjoy it, because I can now see concerts happening in the US, somewhere else that
Right.
I would earlier I have to just stay here, right? I have to go to the venue and I have to go to like Singapore or somewhere so I can see them. So it's
Yeah.
a great thing. I hope that they will keep that element of, while having the actual show, they can also keep the live stream for people who can watch
Right.
from home, right?
Yeah. And it's funny how you don't have to like really, because like uh the barricade conversation. Like, you'd want to go in the barricade, like you would fight for that barricade spot. And like with it going digital, you're like, yeah, I mean, I can watch from my laptop and just see it really up close. but but at the same time, like, I really miss that feeling of like being with other people, like sharing the same love for music, because there's like an energetic to it. Like, it's such a magical thing. Like, it's the energy behind like people singing along the show, and like the band being so elated. Like, wow, I mean, especially in Manila, like Manila shows are quite like such a charmer. That's why
Mm.
like bands love going to our country, because like we're such an energetic audience and such a participative audience, and the love for that band, or like for these artists, are really insane. That's why they really come back here.
Yeah, for me also, it was like each show is like a quest, because
Yeah.
you go there so early. I sometimes I've been to so many shows where I was the first person to arrive at the venue. I was the first in line,
Oh
and I
my
arrived like
gosh.
five hours before or 6 hours before
Yeah.
the show.
Oh my god. And what another thing that I love like with it is like all the rituals that you set for that day or for that
Right.
concert. Like, oh, pre-concert, you're gonna go here, you're gonna get your food here, and then on the concert itself, you're gonna meet friends. Oh, like, wow, what a delight. And then like after, okay, I'll have to like post process this concert. Like, it's not in my head right yet. Like, it's still in the ether. Like, you're just so high from that show. And if I could share like one of the a few stories of like some of the concerts that really stood out for me, not well, one is because how great the show is,
Mm.
but another thing is how I got the concert ticket. So like there's this show, and this is a really intimate show of Oh Wonder, back when I was in California. And the show, so like I was so excited to catch a show there, because the crowd isn't like too hyper compared to what's here. Like,
Mm.
I'd love to witness or experience a show that's so intimate. So um Wonder is doing a show there, but apparently it's sold out. Like, I've asked like couple the theater, like if they were still, accommodating last minute buys, but apparently they aren't. Then for some reason, I reached out to the opening band of the show, and then they were like, "Oh, we have one pass for a guest list for we have like one pass for guests." So I was like, "Whoa, like, can I get that pass?" They were like, "Yeah, for sure. And just go here. We'll get your name, and yeah, it's yours." And I was like, "Wow." Like, I was meant to be in the show. And then at the end of the show, like, I of course, like, I had to thank them. Like, it was such a blast. Like, it was such a great experience. I went there like solo. I super love going to shows like by myself too. Like, there's this charm of just being in your own energy, just experiencing the show by yourself. And then another concert is Coldplay when they went here and played in MOA. I remember me and my friend really wanted to go, but we weren't willing to buy tickets. So what we did, we got a good spot in a hypermarket. So it was like a rooftop. It was a parking lot. It was a parking space. So when the show started, we're like, oh, like this is such a good view. So yeah, I mean, we just hung out there. We got food and we got a free show. And
Wow.
then I guess the last one that's standing out also is like the Phoenix show, like Phoenix Live in Manila. I didn't catch them first when they had their show, I think in Trade Center. But their next show was in the north.
Mm.
And me and Kim, Kim, we would always like we love going to shows together. And for some reason we wanted to go and see this band, like one of our favorite bands, but we didn't get to buy tickets. Then we searched online, like for giveaways. We didn't get any, we didn't win any, but for some reason we got connected with this girl that won tickets for the show. And we asked her, like, do you have any spare tickets or could you sell us the tickets? Then she was like, oh, I can just give it to you guys. And we were like, oh my gosh. Like, I remember after work, I zoomed in, like, okay, Kim, we're doing this. And it was such a good show. So like these stories, like, these antics, um it really makes the experience like 100 times better, like apart from you just loving going to shows. So yeah, it's an all around experience. You would know.
Yeah. So I think I went to late 2019. I went to the O Wonder show they had in Manila, and
Mm.
actually Anthony was sick that day, so it's only just Josephine just did a solo set.
Oh, I didn't catch that, but yeah, they would go around like malls, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then yeah, I was able to meet her also after the show, and she was very nice. And then she did this solo because I think Anthony got food poisoning. I think so. He was.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I like them also. One is also nice
right.
band. Yeah.
Super. And like, were you able to catch them as a duo, like for
No,
a
I
show?
wasn't. I wasn't able to see them original show, the earlier shows. Just that one. It was
Yeah.
supposed to be the duo, but just before the show, Anthony was sick, so he was so he
Mhm.
wasn't able to join.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, talking about Maine, what if you have to choose? What's your favorite album of Maine?
I guess it's Lovely Little Lonely.
Right.
Yeah, cause it's such a it has like a story to tell. Like it's not, although I know that there's like a theme per album, but this was like, I just love how it's curated. Like there were tracks that are just plainly just a sonic experience, and then there are tracks that are, with lyrics. But I love the dynamics of it all. I love how they would always conclude their album with a "We'll all be," or "What's another night on Mars." Like it's such a, I can't explain it, but you would know the feeling. Like
Yeah.
it's like fostering a community or like a collective thing, I guess, with their fans and with the friends that on 8123 that they've been long friends for.
Hmm. Yeah. I actually pick the Maine later on. I mean, actually from this one, this is my favorite.
Oh, Pioneer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So this is
love
after
that.
this,
I love that.
I bought all the other albums after this one, but this was my favorite. But I didn't really
Yeah.
listen to the all the later
Mm-hmm.
on. What's your favorite
Yeah.
song of Maine?
um I guess it's "We All Roll Along" or "We'll All Be." um What's Another Night on Mars.
Hmm, that's nice
There's a
also.
lot, but yeah,
Yeah.
can't choose.
I think that Deja Vu song is also nice. Also, Into Your Arms is nice, right?
Yeah, yeah. And they actually like they play that song again, "Into Your Arms" in their live online concert when they released their single online. Like it's such a different take on the song, and I feel like it has evolved so much, and they brought up this girl too, like to do it with John.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw that one.
So yeah.
um, it's funny, but my favorite main song is actually not one of the original songs. I actually like the Watermelon Sugar cover that they did.
Yeah, of Harry Styles.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a great cover. It doesn't feel like a cover.
you know like that's like one of my criteria for a song being a good cover song. Like if you're not, or if you're not familiar with the song that they're covering, it's as if they made like they're the original ones playing the song, but they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the like I'm been like I listen to a lot of metal, so I consider myself as a metalhead. But one problem with the metalheads I see is a lot of them just live in the past. They just live in nostalgia. They
Yeah.
don't listen to the new music. They always just consider like maybe Metallica, Iron Maiden, or whatever. That they
Right.
just stuck there. They always listen to those 35-year-olds, 30-year-old songs. So
Exactly.
uh, because I went to a lot of shows and that I started listening, so that I actually sort of changed my view on that. I considered, okay, maybe I should give a try to the some of the new bands.
Uh-huh.
Even it's funny when we say it's new band. The main probably it's like now 15 years old, right? So it's not a new band. It's 15-year
Yeah,
old
yeah,
band, right? So it's
yeah.
I don't know why we consider, because Mayday Parade is, I think it's also more than 15 years old, right? So it's not
Yeah.
new bands. It's new bands is
Yeah.
like, very, so I think
Yeah.
we should give a listen to these bands, and should not judge them just like, they're just pop bands or whatever. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people have this sort of thing that they might not be good enough for them or whatever. But
Right.
I actually started listening to a lot of these bands, new bands, and I discovered
Mm-hmm.
so many new bands. It's funny that people are still living in the past.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, these bands like evolve too. So it's quite like, for me, the metal scene is quite like, I'm not super into that scene, but I would notice like it's an era. Like, that era is what they identify themselves with, which is no problem. I mean, they have like a bunch of following too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, sometimes the metalheads, they don't even listen to the new metal bands. They
Yeah.
very judgmental about even the new bands.
Mm, yeah.
So Meg, one thing that I found out when I met you is that you're quite active. I mean, not quite active, but you're active in Instagram, and you have started your own sort of brand. Uh, can you tell me a little bit about your brand? We found a place.
All right. So um it's been like a concept for me that's been sitting for a while. Sorry, like, there's like the dog
It's
sounds.
okay.
Is is it clear now? Okay. It came about, the concept was sitting with me for a while now. Like, I knew I wanted to put that out someday, but it kept like, I kept on delaying it, or I didn't have time to actually, conceptualize or really lay out the plan on how I want it to look like. But then I mentioned to you that I had a previous brand that I started before. It's called Band Feels Manila. And I founded that in 2013 with that idea of, I just love music. I wanna share that feels with the people who share the same music as taste as I do, and just really form communities with it, like do like meetups or do events surrounding that space. So with We Found a Place, I feel like it's an evolved version of me, or like, this is what I feel like is more of myself. So it's a space intersecting like yoga, breathwork, music, and other practices of mindfulness that I would attempt to share. So ideally, it came about with my realization of my codependency on group workouts. So I was stunned when I found myself like not being able to like sit with the practice at home, because all this time I realized that I was, like, I was running towards, people, places, things, or these community workouts, these events, or um just routines that are around the daily lives that I tend to just blindly or on autopilot mode to just go to. So like, I see it as like a place of the in between. Like, if you find yourself or whoever it resonates, like, it's a place just really a chance to get to sit with themselves, with their feelings, and with all the ebbs and flows of their growth, where they are not, or like the growth shouldn't be coming from external things, like external validities, or tangible things, but maybe sitting with those thoughts and feelings themselves. So it's really the remembrance, or like coming back home to themselves. And I attempt to share these practices to support them through that. So it's really like a growing thing. Like like the brand is a growing entity, just like what's happening in my inner world, or like with my own journey. So yeah, it's very intuitively led. I feel like when I really sat down, this is still like an ongoing thing. Like when I sat down and really decided, okay, like am I gonna really go 100% to pursue this? That's when I started meeting people like in alignment with it, which is so, it's so crazy how I met Jean, how I met you, and how all these things like opportunities just pop pop out of nowhere. And I feel like those are like the messages, or like the nudges that, okay, like you're going to the right direction. So I kept going there, like wherever it led me, just as long as I feel like, that's where I'm most aligned at. I feel like this is where I truly resonate with, and the story that I have to tell maybe could inspire other people to be, to like be um really like forthright and really authentic and true, or work towards finding or uncovering that self.
Right. On We Found Place, when I was checking the Instagram, what I felt when I saw the pages all the posts that you had is like, it's just beautiful. Like you was posting so many stuff that was, sometimes it's stuff that you're selling, or but it was very perfectly curated, right? It's like, I feel like it's a premium curated brand, and I feel that this is probably the future for retail, right? It's just not
Right.
just buying stuff, but it's there is a story, there is a value behind what you're buying, right?
Exactly. And that, like, talking about these conscious businesses, like it's some of the things that I really, like, resonate with. I feel like more, even more so now, like the story behind everything, or like maybe a product or service, or like just maybe the founding story plays a big role in um in the way that you are able to show up with these people who follow you. So it's such a, it's unfolding as we go through it. Well, with me, like it unfolds whenever I feel like, I think I'm called to do this, to share this. But yeah, it's pretty exciting, and I love how I get to curate these things that I love in the first place, and get to share them with other people. Before, it was just me sharing like on my own page. I was too shy to even like be out there, or be like front facing. Like I was, like with my job, I'm so used to being on the back end. Like it was like whenever there are projects, you would coordinate it, but it was just via phone call, or I would meet them, but it was never like front facing. It was never really like, bare and bones with these things when it comes to like the things I talk about and We Found a Place. And I was talking to Jean about how we would have these like fragmented sides of us. Like this is me in my workplace. Like um this is my alter ego when I'm in concerts. Like this is me in when I'm in front of friends. Like I'm trying to slowly like debunk that, and just really showing up as you on these all sides of your life. So that's another thing. Like it's another story. Like, I think it's another podcast to like really delve into. But yeah, I mean, we found a, like, that's why it's called We Found a Place, because I feel like, we've been running around finding ourselves in people, places, things, outsourcing maybe what our decisions are, and just shushing what our intuition is telling us. So the more we get to be in touch with that, I guess the more it gets clearer, and with that clarity comes that awareness, and with some silence and that uncovering, you find your own voice better, and you get to hear what's really in your heart, and what's really what's true for you. So I guess it's so that's why it's called We Found a Place, because we found a place within you, found a place within yourself, and not from external things. So there. it's
Right.
it's it blows my mind. Like I've been thinking about, okay, what should I name this brand? Like I know it's right there, it's about to be birthed, but I couldn't quite pick the right name for it. Like I was thinking, should I make it like a Sanskrit name, but it might be too unapproachable for some people. So then when it came, like it just landed, and from then on, like the people that I get to meet because of this, and like the ideas that's birthing out of this brand is quite incredible.
Yeah. So, how did you meet Jean, and how did you get involved with In Silence?
I posted on this Facebook group that I was selling pre-loved books, because I was getting rid of clutter. I really wanted like an even really like a clear energetic space. Energetic space. So I was getting rid of these books. So not sure if she messaged that she wanted to get a few books and or incense. Then I think the conversation already stopped, but I at some point I messaged her like, so Jean, are you selling your books too? Like, is it like to declutter? Like that was like the whole concept. Like I attempted to start a conversation with her, and so she was like, no, actually, uh, it goes like both ways. Sorry, the sound of the dog. That's weird. Um, can you edit this?
It's okay.
Wait, I'm gonna put my earphones. Okay. Um. So there. So I started a conversation with her, I think, because I just wanna I don't know, like I took a shot of just messaging her about decluttering, or like the idea of decluttering. And then she goes, no, actually it's like more on passing the wisdom. And that really stuck on me, like for some reason. Then I told her, oh, then for some reason I started sharing about me on the in between of a move. And she goes, oh, like I'm I'm bound for Osaka for the next coming months. That's why I'm getting rid of these. And she was like, oh, I actually have this project called, or founded this thing called In Silence. And then I told her, I mean, wow, this is so cool that we got to connect through this. So for some reason, I pitched to her like what I'm doing, like for my own project. Then she was like, oh, let's collaborate. And I think that's when she started saying, in silence we found the place, and we found the place in silence. So yeah, then we were able to, like, build this club and start moderating talks on Clubhouse.
Right. uh, I actually bought also the incense from Jean, the ones, I think that's what you're providing, right? The lavender incense.
I think she had her own stash of incense too that she's getting rid of for Jaimala shop, her shop.
All right, right.
Yeah,
Because it's
yeah.
I mean, just not even burning it, but just smelling it, it's it's opens up something inside you, right? Those incense sticks. Can you hear me, Meg?
Wait, can I hear? Okay. Yeah, there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was, what I was saying, the just even smelling the incense, that I don't know, it sort of opens up something in me when I just smell that,
For sure. For
Yeah.
yeah.
um so you mentioned a lot about the community workouts and stuff, so can you tell me what sort of things you do? I know that you're doing yoga and you're also teaching yoga. Can you tell me a little bit about your yoga journey?
Uh-huh. So back in, I think that was 2016 or 2015, I started going with my friend who introduced me to the practice. Cause she would have like free passes on studio. So I was like, oh, she can get like A+1 to go with her. So that's when I started getting introduced to the practice. So a couple like vinyasa classes, and then um during that time too, my back was hurting, so I have like a mild scoliosis, but the doctor advised for me to take PT classes, but I didn't want at that time. So I was like, oh, then maybe I can do yoga to substitute for a PT session, because I didn't really want to go. And so that's when I started going to more classes, and that's when I got to meet like different amazing teachers who really just opens you up, not just with the practice of yoga, but with like the internal work that comes with it. So there's this app called ClassPass, and I forgot the other one, but it gets you like a monthly pass where you can go to different studios to do different classes. So that range of like an active lifestyle really stuck on me ever since, which I enjoyed participating in. So apart from yoga, I would attend cycling classes, because that's one of the things too that made me um intersect music and fitness, because like in a cycling class they have a playlist that you would indoor cycling to. So like it's an indoor cycling studio where the teacher would have like this playlist, and that playlist, that's what he or she would use to facilitate the class. So that's one of the things that I really rave about.
Right. So when did you sort of move into the, like, when you were like serious about like learning yoga and started
Uh-huh.
teaching it?
Yeah. So that was in 2019, like when I saw this post of the studio that I would always go to open up for a teacher training course. I was still skeptic about it, because I didn't really know if I wanted to teach the practice, and I was just into like I want to get to know the practice deeper than the asana itself, which I would be like really interested in, like with when I would listen to podcasts or like read books, like so many books that would just um delve deep into the different sides, like you like the asana or like the physical practice is just a part and parcel of a whole different um um thing. And there's so much to it, like there's so much awareness, so much spirituality that comes into this type of work. And that's what really got me into going to teacher training. And when I went in there, and when we finished the course, like that's when really the true yoga started, because that's when the pandemic hit. So um I didn't have practice at home. So I
Yes.
was I was so comfortable with being led by a teacher. So that's when I found myself practice really quite funny how that came about. And that practice in the middle of not being able to go to these studios, and that's where um the practice went on a deeper level, not just on an asana level, but also like I was able to harness like these different modalities. I've tried like a couple more um rituals or like modalities in this space, in this spiritual practice towards, working on my healing, not just for like not just meditation, but other types of healing modalities in the same umbrella or like the same space.
Right. uh, I used to do for many years. I did this thing. I did yoga just 1 hour
Mm-hmm.
as a New Year resolution every year. I just do it on the New Year. Like maybe in January I'll do 1 hour, then it'll be next year again. And so, but
Yeah.
what happened in 2020 is that actually I was interviewing my friend, JC De Leon, right, the yoga teacher.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
so he's also a big metal fan, and so we were talking about music, and then we talk about his yoga practice, and then he actually offered me a couple of classes. Said, why don't you try it? Why don't you join and try this yoga? So I was okay. I said, okay, maybe I'll just try, because for me there was this thing like, oh, it was not a masculine thing to do yoga. Maybe it was like, I was like, so but I tried it, and after a couple of sessions I really loved it, so I did continue. Now I'm still doing it.
right.
uh, and what happened also early in the pandemic is, the company I was working before, they had this program, sort of a wellness program, that we had a session, we had a Zoom session with Deepak Chopra.
Uh-huh.
So it came out of the blue, and then I joined, and then we were able to talk to him, ask questions and all that. And then he had this meditation program that he started. He has an app, his own app, right, Chopra
Yeah,
app.
yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
then I started doing the 21-day meditation with
Right.
my office mates. We had this daily thing, and then I started doing it with my family, and I think I've done it like 4 or 5 times now,
Uh-huh.
the 21-day meditation. Even my son doing it now, even he's joining the 21-day meditation.
Yeah.
So it's such a journey that you wouldn't even realize that it can happen, that it was totally
Exactly.
something that I was never thinking of doing.
Yeah.
But now I have to do it at least once a week, otherwise it doesn't feel right.
I know. Like it's such a like the way, I guess like the way it enters people's lives could really catch them off guard, like just how what you shared about how it was for you, like you weren't really looking into starting the practice, but like it just came and you started to really enjoy it and not go like a week or a day of not being able to practice it. You feel like
Mm.
it's like dropping into the silence or like the meditation practice of it all, like really unravel so many things. Like it's not just for clearing your head, but I feel like it's so much deeper than like with the clarity that comes with it. It's like a wave of other things.
Yeah, but have you thought about, like, I had this sort of realization that uh, doing all these things, like, even before that I was always going to concerts and always collecting stuff, and I was doing a lot of running, walking, cycling and all that, and then now I do yoga. I felt that sometimes we do these things, and then as a escape from, like, the, without really realizing it, we sort of being busy doing all these things so that we can escape the real mindfulness that we are supposed to have. So what I do now is I try to actually take breaks from these things. Certain
Uh-huh.
weekends I will not do anything. I will just stay home
Yeah.
without doing anything, so that it doesn't go into that sort of cycle again. Although
Mm-hmm.
we are doing a good thing, but it can become sort of a escape again, right?
For sure. Like I feel like there's this term being discussed like now in the wellness scene of like on going on a spiritual burnout. It's like you're super like just signing up for these challenges, like signing up for these 21-day meditation challenge, and it's quite a lot. So it's like for me, like it's on that integration side of how can I put this or how can I integrate the practices or anything that I've learned in this space to bring it outside of the mat or outside the meditation practice. So I get what you mean when you say I just wanna just not do anything related to this or like related to work on some days, because like it just gets to you sometimes. But like that resistance too, or like there comes that awareness of, wait, these are the things that I have been escaping from. Like, what am I escaping from? Like, what are the
Mm.
things that I'm putting under the rug, or what are some things that I really have to. I feel like there's so much energy in our conversation that it would like just pause. Yeah. Yeah.
So what were you saying?
Yeah. I was saying how um sometimes we get into this rat race or this wheel of just constantly trying to improve ourselves, which is no problem. But like like with these practices, like it gets sometimes it gets to you because like it really uncovers a lot of things, like that in itself, like that resistance to, oh, like I'm always in here, like how, like, can I get out, or is there a way out? But
Right.
yeah, that's the, I think that's the point of it all. Like it really uncovers the things that has to come in the surface. That's why it takes like a lot of doing the work or a lot of practice to really be comfortable in your like whatever modality you find yourself in, or like or in your practice.
Yeah, because I read this that I think a lot of people are scared of like themselves, like just staying there, just themselves without doing anything, without other
Yeah.
people, other things, other experiences,
Mhm.
just your mind. That's
Right.
something that's most scary for a lot of people. I feel that also because I always like get distracted with something else. So
Yeah. Like it's funny how like that distraction, like whenever, let's say, I would drop in my meditation, then if I have so many things in my head, I would open my eyes and I would list the thing down. Like the clear head won't come through if my mind is still clouded with the things that I still have to do. So that's why like we've talked about like journaling, like it really does help a lot. And really like being in that space of like the void, or like that space in between, really opens up really what you think, like what are the internal things that in your internal um things in your head. Like it really, it's a gateway to a bunch of things in your
right.
head.
uh, you're doing a lot of your playlist. Can you tell me the process and how do you sort of create playlist? What's the
Right.
motivation behind each playlist?
Oh my god. Like there's always like a story to tell whenever I would make playlists, but at the same time I would also have like just a mood that I want to capture and just make a playlist out of it. So I have a process to it. So it's funny, like whenever I get to ask or people ask me about like how does that look like there's like a, like for me it's a funny thing when I would say, or I would tell Kim, like because she understands like there's an art in playlist making. So you don't play it on shuffle because it just goes, the art of it all would not be as potent. So you have to really playlists pause. I don't um
Think your camera is freeze up again.
there. Am I clear?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna wait. Can we try doing it on my phone again? Was it
Yeah, yeah, you
or
can join.
this is clear? Okay. Wait, let me. There we go. Okay, wait. Let me. Okay,
There you go.
there we go. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. We kept on shifting like
It's fine. It's fine.
there. So yeah, with making playlists, I would pick like a mood or let's say a place that I wanna make a playlist of, and then it would start as like something catchy, like something that will make the listener really hang on to the playlist, like something that will like it's a good vibe but high impact. Like it could be slow but with great impact. And then I'm gonna build it up like in the middle. Like I try to make it like just 10 to 12 songs maximum, just to really encapsulate like the vibe of the playlist. So for me, like when I do a playlist, it's the more of listening to the vibe of the song rather than looking through the lyrics. But at the same time, I enjoy like doing both. But then just building it up from there, and transitioning to maybe like a middle song till I get to shift the mood to a slightly different vibe or phase. And then I end it with a chill or like concluding song. I don't know like if you got that, but that's the process.
So, how do you publish? Do you publish this like public playlist or?
Yeah. So these are on Spotify, on my Spotify. So whenever I feel like sharing it to friends, like I would just do that and just put it on my Spotify.
Right, right. That's yeah. I mean, I do listen to a lot of playlists, but whatever that Spotify, sometimes recommend based on whatever
Right.
we listen, right? So,
Yeah. The recommended playlist of the songs that you've been picking.
right, right. I didn't. I mean, I should listen to some of your your playlists. So, what
For
sort of
sure.
what sort of genre, like type of music, do you include in this playlist?
So it's more of like electronic pop, not so much pop rock, but maybe alternative indie alt and more bass heavy, not very much rock, not too much pop rock, but more on a wonder vibe. So I don't
Oh,
know how I can collectively like describe that vibe, but you will feel it in in when you would listen to the playlist. So
right. Do you also use music when you do your like yoga?
yeah. So I would put a playlist on, or if I'm not listening to a playlist, I would listen to podcasts. Like I'm a heavy listener of different podcasts, and it's funny. Like when I shared it to a friend, she was like, "Oh, what if what they're talking about is funny? Like you would laugh in your practice?" Like I was like, "Well, yeah, I don't have a choice."
Right.
But but with like a playlist, it really gets you into the zone.
Right. Meg, what are you? What's some of the podcasts you discovered, like interesting podcasts?
I listened to the Natalia Benson podcast. That's one, and another recommended podcast is Almost 30.
Hmm.
So the topics that they would delve into are really more on spirituality, health and wellness, all the woo woo things that we love talking about, like human design. They would discuss and guest really people who would really shake you up in that sense, but in a good way.
Right.
So much from.
Yeah, one of the sort of a challenges that I saw was that, so there's so much content, there's too much content already, right? So it's hard to
Yeah,
navigate through all the, so many movies, so many YouTube videos, then podcasts
exactly.
and books and all this. So sometimes you can get lost on these things, right? So it's a challenge,
Yes,
right? What
so
do you do?
much.
What do you do? How do you sort of filter out, and how do you like filter your consumption of these things?
Uh-huh. So like I get what you feel like you're in that constant notion of filling your time like with all these valuable content. Like it's such a there's such a great buffet of all the good stuff that they will talk about. So as much as possible, like I would archive, like I would put in in a Spotify playlist the ones that or like the episodes I want to listen to, and then maybe in a week or in a day I would listen to at least one or two, and then I set aside time to really just marinate all that I've learned from it. And at the same time, like see what resonates, like see if this is true for me, because like there are a wealth of information out there. And you know um but that's the beauty of it all too, like you get to listen to different perspectives, like it just makes you more expansive in a way. And the factor of podcasts like not being something that you see, not unless of course they're on YouTube, like it really makes you drop into being like really listening to what they say.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. So this in silence, in we what sort of the talk series that we do with Jean and Martin on Clubhouse. How's your Clubhouse experience so far?
Oh my gosh, it's exciting but at the same time nerve-wracking. But I super love how they were able to really democratize like people's voices, because like the people who would want to start a podcast could use that as a training ground, because it's like it's just an audio drop in. And I love how casual it seems,
Mm.
but I love how it could also get very formal. But I love the platform of it all, of like you being able to join different rooms of your interest, and maybe just participating as a listener, or really engaging in the conversation. So it's something that just blows my mind, like being able to connect with like fellow founders, or these people that are really big in their industry, and the ones that are starting up, like on those that are on startups. It's an interesting way to connect. And it's funny, like whenever you drop in, like or like in their bio they would say, oh, feel free to connect with me through my email or my Instagram. So I love how um this technology thing is really um changing the landscape of how we consume media, and how we get to foster or collaborate and do partnerships with different people.
Yeah, and it's so exciting how people are actually using Clubhouse in so many ways, right? Even ways you don't
Exactly.
get to use.
Yeah, and now like they're even monetizing the platform. So it's interesting. Like I can't wait to see it unfold. I can't wait to see how we get to grow the room and keep hosting, these talks and moderate topics that are very close to our hearts.
Yeah, it's a great platform, and and also I don't see much, like, there's not a lot of talk about censorship or anything also on the
Huh,
platform, right? It's quite
yeah,
open.
right.
It's
Super.
open, but people seems to be quite civil in these rooms, huh?
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. Like they're very they're not the wealth of information that they share are really valuable. Like oh, we got the funding of X amount for this project, so let's talk about that. So it's an interesting take on how they don't censor a lot, and how they really put out such great content and just curate a bunch of founders in a room and share these experiences and how each of them would really be. Yeah, I mean, for sure, if you have like an idea, go pitch the idea for me. I can just invest it. Like, it's on that level. So like when I
Right.
think about, oh, I mean, I should have a great bio. But anytime that we get to meet or get to talk to these people, it's amazing.
Right. One of the sort of a challenges that I face is actually spending time on Clubhouse. I try to put that uh, last couple of weeks. What I did is I actually went into the events and then try to actually plot that event. Okay, I'm going to attend, because it's sometimes there's not much enough time to actually spend on Clubhouse. But one funny thing that happened to me yesterday, so I blogged this event about meditation and spirituality, and then I went in. I was the only guy, and it was all all ladies on the chat, and they were talking about a lot of things about, like about females, and then they were gossiping also on that. So it's like it was, I actually left after some time because it didn't feel, it was like I think it probably is like bunch of friends. They were like talking so
Yeah,
many things.
yeah. It happened to be like an open room.
It's an open room, but it's actually like bunch of friends that they're actually
Yeah,
talking about their personal stuff, right?
yeah, yeah.
So Meg,
It,
what are you excited for the remainder of 2021? Anything that is exciting going to happen, or what are you looking forward for?
uh-huh. So I'm excited with my plans with Be Found a Place. So it's really, I'm still trying to get my head around like what are the targets for the next quarters, but it's been quite a journey, and the people that I've been meeting through this and like really embodying being a founder, even more so with this brand than with my previous one, is quite like it blows my mind. And I'm in the middle of a move, so I'm moving to a different country for the remaining rest of the year, so I'll see how that goes and see how In Silence will play out. But yeah, that's pretty exciting.
Right. Um, Meg, what are you thankful for?
I'm thankful for just taking a breath, like being able to um harness that ourselves, like with a breath, like harness ourselves with the present moment by just plainly breathing. And it gets you in this space of presence. I guess like I just went in there. Like um it like really, it really makes you grateful of this opportunity to just live. And I get to I get to share these things. I get to have like these conversations with you guys and foster different partnerships with these people that are super aligned with what we want to bring through the interwebs, and that's super exciting. So yeah, really grateful for these connections, for being able to have a space to just really express my truth and the journey of it all.
Right. Uh, any message to the viewers of the podcast?
Uh-huh. I'm super excited with, I guess we're gonna have like another talk on the music scene. So let's maybe see on how that goes. But yeah, I mean, Chana birthing this podcast in the middle of not being able to go to shows is, it's quite something else. So I'm super supporting this, and I love how you are starting to bring in like different guests, not just in the music scene but also in the spirituality scene and all the things. So I'm super grateful to be on here, and I'm super excited to where you will bring this podcast.
Right. So Meg, anybody you want to shout out to?
Sorry.
Anybody you want to shout out to?
Shout out to Jean and Martine of In Silence. Also Kim of Stone River, also a good friend. We've been like, going back and forth with what we want to launch, the projects that we want to do. And shout out to all the podcast listeners of Channa. I mean, it's great. It's so great to be here and to be able to share a few things of what's ongoing with my life.
Meg, so I really enjoy talking to you. Thanks for joining this. And Yeah, as you mentioned, I think we would want to bring this discussion further, probably maybe in Clubhouse as a talk series. Let's
Uh,
work on that. Looking forward to working on with you on that.
right.
And Yeah, I'm also quite excited about what we can do through In Silence, and I really enjoy the weekly talks we do. So I wish you all the best, and uh, thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.